Welcome back. This time we're talking about Unsane, the latest film from director Steven Soderbergh, who gave us the Ocean's 11 trilogy, Traffic, Aaron Brockovich, and Contagion. The film is rather unique, both for its extremely small budget for a big-name director at $1.2 million, as well as the fact that the entire movie was filmed on an iPhone. And they use that to their advantage because, quite frankly, this movie looks like it was filmed on an iPhone. But the story is about a young woman trying to escape from her stalker. So that voyeuristic quality that we get from this movie being filmed on a phone really helps to elevate that paranoia that this character is feeling. The story focuses on a young woman named Sawyer Valentini, played by Claire Foy of The Crown fame. And she has just moved to a new city because she was dealing with a stalker in her hometown. Something that she really didn't let a lot of other people know about. And she feels like she might be getting her feet back underneath her, but she keeps seeing her stalker in different places. And this ultimately leads her to go talk to a counselor at this psychiatric hospital as a way to help her deal with these lingering issues of paranoia and presumably seeing things that aren't there. Unfortunately, she signs some paperwork without reading it and is ultimately committed for a number of days for evaluation. And her being locked away behind doors and bars does not keep her from still seeing her stalker in places. And the question that the audience must answer is she actually seeing her stalker, or is it all in her mind? And of course, that's the story. I went to go see this movie with a friend of mine, and if you had asked us after the first 20 minutes what our thoughts were, we would have been polar opposites. She really enjoyed this movie from start to finish. For me, the first 20 minutes were a complete mess, and I was really not thinking I was going to like this movie at all. Fortunately, it finds its balance about 20 to 30 minutes in, and from there on, I really found myself enjoying this film a lot more than I ever thought I would after those first 20 minutes. Now, as I said at the beginning, this is a movie that was filmed on an iPhone, and they really emphasize the voyeuristic qualities. There's a lot of early shots during the opening credits where you kind of see her walking down the street, but there's like leaves in the way, like we're hiding behind a bush to capture these moments. And that's fine. It was a little on the nose, but it worked for what they were trying to get across. Unfortunately, as we started seeing her like a normal day, her going to work, going out on the town in the evening, a lot of the angles that they were using were frankly angles that you could only get with a small device like a phone. Like there's a moment where she's talking to her boss, and there's a really low angle shot that you just couldn't get with a large camera unless you just like cut the desk away. So I was seeing these angles, and it was kind of pulling me away from the film. It was making it hard for me to forget that I was watching a movie, which is what a movie really should be doing. This combined with some of these secondary characters like her boss, like her friend from work, some of the early patients that she meets when she first gets committed into the hospital, were just, they felt like characters. They did not feel like real people. Sawyer was really the only character in this movie for that whole first portion of it that felt real. And my friend actually made a point that might have been something they were going with, and in a way I can see that, but only in retrospect. Early on, it was just bugging me. So I really wasn't buying into the characters other than Sawyer herself. The camera angles just kept pulling me out. But there's a point where some answers are given, and we can kind of settle in and decide, okay, what is this story actually going to be about? Because it does bounce around a lot in that first act. There's really like two separate stories, one involving Sawyer and one that she's involved in but isn't really focused on her. And there was a lot of time early on that we're kind of diving back and forth. But once the film really settles down and allows the story to focus in on Sawyer and what's happening to her, I really started feeling the tension and the claustrophobia that they were trying to get across. And ultimately, I found myself enjoying the film for the latter two-thirds of it, and really don't have too much in the way of complaints after that point. My only other real issue moving forward is literally the last 2 seconds of the film. I didn't have a problem with what happens in that scene, but I didn't like how they presented it. I thought it made light of some things that I really didn't think they should have, considering the subject matter. But overall, this is a film that I feel has a pretty weak first act, but the second and third acts kind of elevate it and kind of make up for that. So I was honestly pretty surprised by this movie. It's rare that I have such a negative initial reaction to a movie, and then it still is able to win me over by the end. So if you like a good psychological thriller, it's definitely got a low budget look to it. Gives you something a little different than than we typically get with big budget affairs. This is a very small story. There could be some enjoyment to be found here. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you've seen Unsane, what did you think about it? And if you haven't, what's your favorite Steven Soderbergh film? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.